Lily Foster stood beneath the glittering chandeliers, her wedding dress clinging to her like a fragile shield. She should have stopped him before he raised his glass. But now it was too late. Walter Bennett's words sliced through the celebration like frozen daggers, a waist cleaner. The hall fell into a suffocating silence. Guests stared into their glasses, or at their plates, anywhere but at her. Lily's lips curved into a smile, brittle and thin, even as her heart splintered beneath the weight of humiliation. Walter didn't know. The same hands he mocked that day, hands that had soothed dying patients, that had preserved dignity when hope was gone, would one day save lives. And tear away the power he had wielded for far too long. The night wrapped Pinewood Care Facility in silence as Lily Foster moved quietly through the dimly lit hallway. At 25, her hands already knew the language of care, gentle adjustments that preserved dignity, touches that provided comfort. These skills had been passed down from her mother Margaret, who raised Lily alone while working night shifts at nursing homes. "Mrs. Peterson needs her medication," Jessica, Lily's colleague, reminded her as they passed. Lily nodded, checking her mother's old nurse's watch. These small acts, helping someone breathe easier, ensuring peaceful sleep, fueled her despite the exhaustion of night shifts. The facility's alarm shattered the quiet. Lily rushed toward room 112, where Mr. Collins was gasping for air, his face turning blue. Without hesitation, she reconnected his oxygen tube and adjusted his position, her movements precise and calm. "You're okay, Mr. Collins. Just breathe with me. In and out." A young man in a white coat stood watching from the doorway. Only when the elderly man's breathing stabilized did Lily notice him, tall, with kind eyes that showed genuine admiration. "That was impressive," he said. "I've never seen someone respond so efficiently." His ID badge read, "Ethan Bennett, medical student." "It's just part of the job," Lily replied, adjusting Mr. Collins's blanket. "Sometimes the simple solutions are the most important ones." Ethan's smile reached his eyes. "I think I have a lot to learn from the caregivers here." Over the following weeks, Lily found herself looking forward to Ethan's visits during his medical rotation. Unlike other medical students, he treated her expertise with respect. "You know more about these patients than what's in their charts," Ethan told her one quiet night as they shared coffee. Dawn was breaking outside, painting the sky in hopeful shades of pink. "Medicine isn't just about diagnoses," Lily said. "It's about knowing Mrs. Rivera sleeps better with her door cracked open, or that Mr. Abernathy needs to hear you enter his room. My father would say that's inefficient thinking." "Your father?" "Walter Bennett, former deputy director of State Hospital. Everything is protocols and hierarchy with him." Ethan's expression clouded. "He expects me to follow his footsteps. But that's not what you want?" "I want to be a doctor who remembers there are people behind the symptoms. People with dignity, like you always emphasize." Lily felt something shift between them, a connection forming that went beyond their professional roles. Lily stared at the pregnancy test in her tiny apartment bathroom, her hands trembling. "Positive." The words seemed to pulse with both promise and fear. When she told Ethan, sitting on a bench outside the facility, she prepared herself for panic. Instead, he took her hands in his. "We'll figure this out together. I want to take responsibility for both of you." "Are you proposing because of the baby?" "I'm proposing because meeting you showed me what kind of person, what kind of doctor, I want to be." He squeezed her hands. "The baby just moved our timeline forward." Hope bloomed in Lily's chest, bright but fragile. "Your parents," she began. A shadow crossed Ethan's face. "We'll handle them together." The Bennett home stood imposing against the evening sky. Lily smoothed down her best dress as Ethan rang the doorbell. "Just be yourself," he whispered. "They'll love you." Vivian Bennett opened the door, her smile genuine but nervous. The house was beautiful but cold, more like a museum than a home. Walter Bennett rose from his seat at the head of an ornate dining table, his handshake firm but his eyes calculating. "So you're the young lady who's captured my son's attention," he said. "What exactly do you do at Pinewood?" "I'm a night shift caregiver," Lily answered proudly. "I've been in elder care since I was 18. "A noble profession," Walter said, his tone suggesting otherwise. "And your education?" "I trained as a certified nursing assistant after high school. My mother was also a caregiver." Walter's expression tightened. "Ah, I see. A family tradition of sorts." When Ethan announced their engagement and pregnancy, the atmosphere turned frigid. "A caregiver with no higher education, pregnant with a Bennett," Walter said coldly. "How convenient for you, Dad." Ethan protested. "What's unfair is watching you throw away your future," Walter continued. "You could marry anyone, a doctor, a lawyer. Instead, you bring home a glorified waste cleaner." The dining room fell silent. Vivian looked down at her plate. Ethan seemed frozen, caught between defending Lily and years of deference to his father. Lily felt something inside her harden. "Mr. Bennett," she said quietly, "the work I do preserves the dignity of people at their most vulnerable. I'm sorry you can't see the value in that." She stood, her legs shaking but her resolve firm. "Thank you for dinner." Outside, Lily wrapped her arms around herself, one hand moving to her stomach. The baby inside her deserved better than the coldness of that house. Ethan joined her minutes later, his face flushed with shame. "Lily, I'm so sorry. What my father said, it's unforgivable." She looked at him, seeing the conflict in his eyes. "You didn't say anything," she said softly. "I was shocked. I never thought he would." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "It won't happen again. I promise." As he drove her home, Lily wondered if she'd glimpsed their future, a life where Ethan would always be caught between his love for her and the weight of his father's expectations. Still, when he kissed her goodnight and promised again, "We'll face this together," she chose to believe him. She had to believe that love would be enough. The wedding reception hall sparkled with light catching on crystal glasses and polished silverware. Lily stood beside Ethan in her simple white dress, her pregnancy still barely showing. Despite Walter's disapproval, they had managed to have a small ceremony with close friends and colleagues from the care facility. Lily's mother Margaret sat in the front row, her weathered hands clutching a handkerchief, pride and worry battling in her eyes. Jessica had helped arrange flowers donated by the care facility residents who adored Lily. It wasn't the grand Bennett wedding Walter had envisioned for his son, but it was filled with genuine warmth. The moment arrived for the traditional toasts. Walter Bennett rose from his seat, wine glass in hand, his expression unreadable. The room quieted in anticipation. "To my son, Ethan," Walter began, his voice carrying across the room. "A brilliant medical student with a promising future." A pause. "Ethan," Walter continued, his voice slightly louder, making sure those nearby could hear. "Is this really your choice?" Adding, waste cleaner, to the Bennett family line? The room fell silent. Guests exchanged uncomfortable glances, unsure where to look. Lily felt her smile freeze on her face, but she held it there, determined not to crumble in front of everyone. Across the table, Vivian's eyes widened in horror at her husband's words. She mouthed a silent, "I'm sorry," to Lily. Ethan's hand tightened around Lily's. "Dad, that's enough," he said, his voice tight but lacking the forcefulness the moment demanded. Walter merely smiled, raising his glass higher. "To new beginnings," he said smoothly, as if he hadn't just publicly humiliated his new daughter-in-law. Lily felt something inside her grow cold. The hands that had comforted dying patients, that had preserved dignity when nothing else could, reduced to a waste cleaner on her wedding day. Financial reality hit hard after the wedding. Ethan's medical school expenses and Lily's reduced hours due to her pregnancy meant they couldn't afford their own place. Walter generously offered them the guest suite in the Bennett home. "Just until you finish your residency," he told Ethan, not even looking at Lily. Their bedroom became Lily's only sanctuary in the cold, museum-like house. Each morning, she rose early to avoid Walter at breakfast. Each evening, she returned exhausted from her shifts, hoping to slip upstairs unnoticed. Walter's control extended beyond the house. As a board member at the hospital affiliated with Pinewood Care Facility, his influence meant Lily's schedule became increasingly erratic. Her requests for consistent hours during pregnancy were unfortunately impossible to accommodate. "You need to rest more," Ethan told her one night, watching her massage her swollen feet after a 12-hour shift. "Maybe take a leave until after the baby comes." "And live on what?" Lily asked, trying to keep the bitterness from her voice. "Your father made it clear we stay rent-free only while I continue working." Ethan looked away, conflict written across his features. "He's just concerned about the baby." "No, he's controlling us," Lily said softly. "Can't you see that?" Weeks passed. Lily's pregnancy advanced, her body growing heavier while her spirit felt increasingly lighter, as if something essential was being drained from her. At work, subtle changes appeared. Supervisors who had once praised her now found fault with minor details. Colleagues, except for loyal Jessica, kept their distance, sensing the invisible mark Walter's disapproval had placed on her. "He's telling everyone you're after Ethan's family money," Jessica whispered during their break. "But I know you, Lily. You're not that person." Tears stung Lily's eyes. "I just love him. Why can't his father see that?" Jessica squeezed her hand. "Because men like Walter Bennett only value what they can control. And you, my friend, are uncontrollable." Meanwhile, Ethan grew more distant, absorbed in residency applications that Walter insisted must aim for top-tier institutions only. He'd return late, exhausted, barely speaking before falling asleep. One rare evening when they were both home and Walter was at a hospital function, Lily tried to reach the husband she was losing. "Remember when we talked about patient dignity at the care facility?" she asked, sitting beside him on their bed. "About seeing the person, not just the medical chart?" Ethan looked up from his textbook, something of his former self flickering in his eyes. "Of course I do. I miss that, Ethan," Lily said softly, placing his hand on her rounded belly. "Our baby needs that, Ethan, too." For a moment, she saw conflict in his eyes. "I do question some of Dad's values," he admitted quietly. "The way he dismisses caregivers, nurses, anyone he considers beneath doctors. It's wrong." Lily felt hope stir within her. "Then why don't you say something?" "It's complicated," Ethan sighed. "He's funding my education, our living situation. And he's still my father." "And I'm your wife," Lily said, her voice steady despite the tears threatening to fall. "Don't I deserve the same loyalty?" Before Ethan could answer, they heard the front door open, Walter returning early. Ethan's expression immediately shuddered, the moment of connection lost. The next morning, Ethan was back to his distant self, hurrying to leave for his clinical rotation, avoiding her eyes. Lily watched him go, the hope from the previous night fading like morning mist in harsh sunlight. In her 7th month, during a rare quiet night shift, Lily sat with her notebook at the nurse's station. Inside were sketches and notes for her dream, a home care support center where elderly people could maintain dignity in familiar surroundings. Where caregivers would be valued, not dismissed as waste cleaners. Jessica peered over her shoulder. "Still working on your center?" Lily nodded. "It keeps me going. Knowing there could be something better than this system." "You'll make it happen," Jessica said with certainty. "You're the most stubborn person I know." Lily laughed for what felt like the first time in months. "I have to be. This baby deserves to see dreams come true, not just crushed under someone's expensive shoes. As if in response, the baby kicked strongly, making Lily wince and smile simultaneously. Her hands moved to cradle her belly, the same hands Walter disdained, now creating and nurturing life. These hands, she whispered to her unborn child, will build something worthwhile. Something even Walter Bennett can't tear down. The calendar showed Lily's due date circled in red, just 2 weeks away. Lily watched Ethan pack his suitcase. I don't understand why you have to go now, she said, hand resting on her belly. Dad says this medical conference is crucial for my residency applications, Ethan replied without looking up. But what if the baby comes early? It's only for 5 days. First babies are usually late anyway. What Lily couldn't know was that Walter had deliberately arranged for Ethan to be away. The conference was real, but his mandatory attendance was Walter's fabrication. That night, Lily stood at the window, watching Ethan's car disappear, Walter at the wheel. Vivian approached hesitantly. I'll be here if you need anything, she offered. But they both knew that in Walter's house, Vivian's help would be limited by her husband's control. 3 nights later, Lily woke to sharp pain radiating through her back. When contractions came every 10 minutes, she knew this wasn't a false alarm. She called Ethan's cell phone. Voicemail. Ethan, I think I'm in labor, she said, keeping her voice calm. Please call me. By 3 a.m., she made her way downstairs and found Walter in his study. I'm in labor, Lily said, pausing through a contraction. I need to go to the hospital. Walter looked up, expression detached. How far apart are the contractions? About 10 minutes now. That's still early labor. First-time mothers can labor for 24 hours or more. No need to rush to the hospital. Lily felt uncertainty flicker through her. Walter was a medical professional, after all. Another hour passed, the contractions intensifying. Lily called Jessica in desperation. My father-in-law won't take me to the hospital, she whispered. He says it's too early. I'm coming right now, Jessica promised. That man is not an obstetrician. When Jessica arrived, Walter emerged from his study. This is unnecessary, he said coldly. With all due respect, sir, Jessica replied, supporting Lily, you're not the one in labor. At the hospital, Lily faced subtle resistance. The intake nurse left her in a triage room far longer than necessary. When a young doctor finally appeared, his manner was brusque. Mrs. Bennett? I understand you think you're in active labor. I don't think, I know, Lily gasped through another contraction. You're only 3 centimeters dilated. We typically don't admit until you're at least 4. Jessica stepped forward. She's a first-time mother whose water has broken. Hospital policy is to admit. The doctor looked uncomfortable. I'll consult with my attending. Walter's influence, Jessica whispered. He must have called ahead. Lily closed her eyes against a wave of pain. In this moment of vulnerability, she became acutely aware of the power structures that dismissed caregivers as waste cleaners. Finally admitted but relegated to a shared room, Lily faced labor with minimal support from hospital staff. Alone after Jessica had to leave, Lily remembered her mother's teachings. When pain comes, don't fight it. Breathe into it. Each breath brings you closer to the other side. So Lily breathed, her hands gripping the bedrail, the same hands that had comforted countless elderly patients, now bringing her child into the world. Margaret arrived just as Lily was being wheeled into delivery. Mom, Lily cried with relief, reaching for her mother's weathered hand. I'm here, baby, Margaret said. Those hands of yours know what to do. They've always known. With her mother on one side and a reluctant nurse on the other, Lily pushed through pain that threatened to tear her apart. She thought of all the suffering she'd witnessed as a caregiver. If her hands could comfort others through death, Surely they could guide her child into life. When Abigail finally emerged with a powerful cry, Lily felt a surge of fierce love unlike anything she'd ever known. The tiny girl was placed on her chest, their heartbeats finding each other. "Hello, my brave girl," Lily whispered, tears falling onto Abigail's head. "We've got each other now." No calls came from Ethan. No visits from Vivian. But looking into her daughter's face, Lily found a strength that needed no external validation. "We need the mother's contact information," a nurse said later, clipboard in hand. Exhausted, Lily looked up in confusion. "I'm the mother." "No, your mother. In case of emergency." Something shifted in Lily then, a realization of her new identity. "I am the mother," she repeated, voice stronger. "I'm Abigail's mother." The significance of those words washed over her. She was no longer just Lily the caregiver or Lily the wife. She was Abigail's mother, and that role demanded a strength she would need to find within herself. 3 days later, still without word from Ethan, Lily prepared for discharge. Margaret had brought baby clothes and a used car seat. Jessica had arranged time off to help. As they were leaving, Lily saw Walter in the hospital lobby with the administrator. Their eyes met briefly before he turned away, as if she were a stranger rather than the mother of his granddaughter. When they went to collect Lily's belongings from the Bennett house, Ethan's car was in the driveway. Lily felt a surge of hope. Ethan met her at the door, expression stricken when he saw the baby carrier. "Lily. I didn't know. Dad said you weren't due for another week." Walter appeared behind his son. "Ethan has something to discuss with you. Dad thinks, we think, it would be best if we lived separately for a while." Lily felt as if the ground had dropped away. "Separately? Your work schedule is irregular," Walter interjected. "Night shifts, weekend work, hardly a stable environment for an infant. Ethan can provide consistency, with our help." "You want to take my baby," Lily said, words burning in her throat. She looked at Ethan, searching for the man she had fallen in love with. "And you agree with this?" "It's just temporary," Ethan said weakly. "Until we figure things out." Lily held Abigail closer. "No," she said, voice unwavering. "Abigail stays with me." "We'll see what the courts have to say," Walter replied coldly. "A Bennett child deserves the best possible upbringing." That night, in Margaret's small spare bedroom, Abigail would not stop crying. Lily walked the floor with her, exhausted and heartbroken. Rain lashed against the windows, matching her stormy emotions. Margaret appeared in the doorway. "Let me take her for a bit. You need rest." "No," Lily said. "I need to learn to do this. They'll be watching for any mistake, any sign that I'm an unfit mother." "You're a good mother, Lily," Margaret said gently. "That child isn't crying because you're doing something wrong. Sometimes babies just cry. Walter will use everything against me. My job, this apartment, even Abigail's crying. Then you fight," Margaret said simply. "These hands," she touched Lily's hands supporting the baby, "have always known how to care for others. Now they'll fight for your daughter." As if hearing her grandmother's words, Abigail's cries began to soften. The same hands that Walter had ridiculed now held the most precious thing in Lily's world. "We'll make it, Abigail," she whispered, determination replacing despair. "You and me together. I promise." Dawn broke as Lily placed sleeping Abigail in her second-hand crib. Her body ached with exhaustion, but she needed to be at the care facility in 3 hours. "I'll be back by 7, Lily told Margaret. "Are you sure you're okay watching her?" "We'll be fine. But this schedule, it's not sustainable." Since returning to work, Lily had been assigned the most difficult shifts, orchestrated by the facility director who sat on Walter's hospital board. "I don't have a choice," Lily said, kissing Abigail's forehead. "Walter's lawyers have filed for custody evaluation. If I don't maintain employment, they'll use it against me. As she hurried to the bus stop, legal documents stuffed alongside diapers in her bag, Lily felt the weight of Walter's influence pressing down on her. A stern-faced woman arrived for a home environment assessment. Dr. Patricia Reynolds introduced herself as a child development specialist, but Lily recognized her. She had served on a committee with Walter. I'll be evaluating this living environment for infant development, Dr. Reynolds explained, eyeing the small apartment with disapproval. Lily maintained composure as the woman inspected every corner, noting the apartment's size, traffic sounds, and lack of a nursery. And you work night shifts regularly? Dr. Reynolds asked, making another note. I'm transitioning to a more regular schedule, Lily replied, the lie sticking in her throat. Dr. Reynolds paused by Abigail's crib. No mobile? No stimulation wall. Visual stimulation in the first months is critical for cognitive development. Lily flushed with shame and anger. The mobile she had crafted from colorful paper apparently didn't count. After the specialist left, Lily pulled out a notebook and began making detailed notes of Abigail's development. If Walter wanted to fight with documentation, she would be prepared. That evening, Lily watched her mother singing to Abigail. The tenderness in Margaret's weathered hands contrasted with the clinical assessment earlier. Mom, do you think I'm wrong to keep working? To leave Abigail while I do night shifts? Why would that be wrong? The evaluator made it sound like I'm harming her by not being here 24/7. By living here instead of the Bennett mansion. Margaret's expression hardened. That's Bennett talking, not science. When I raised you, I worked double shifts. We lived in a place smaller than this. But what do you think? Honestly. Margaret sighed. In my day, we didn't have choices. We just endured. If you had a job, you kept it. If your situation wasn't ideal, you made do. And now? Lily pressed. Now maybe you can fight for better. That's what your generation does, isn't it? Lily felt determination surge through her. I'm not going to just endure like you had to. I'm going to fight. For Abigail. For myself. For the right to be both a mother and a caregiver. Margaret smiled with pride. Then fight. But remember, pick your battles carefully. The knock came on a Sunday afternoon. Lily opened the door to find Ethan looking haggard. Can I see her? He asked simply. Ethan moved to the crib where Abigail lay awake. Something in his face changed, softened, awakened. She's beautiful, he whispered. She is, Lily agreed, maintaining distance. Lily, I'm sorry. For everything. For not being there when she was born. Why are you here, Ethan? I had a talk with my mother. She told me how my father has always controlled people. How he's trying to control Abigail's future like he controlled mine. A flicker of hope threatened to ignite in Lily's chest, but she extinguished it quickly. And, she prompted. I'm starting to see things differently. To question whether Dad is always right. Starting to. Lily echoed with disappointment. Ethan, they're trying to take our daughter from me. Starting to see isn't enough. I know, I just need time. Abigail doesn't have time, Lily cut in firmly. Neither do I. Make a choice, Ethan. For yourself. For your daughter's sake. As he left, Lily saw the conflict raging within him, caught between the man he wanted to be and the son Walter had shaped. The following week, Lily had just begun her shift when the lights went out completely. The backup generator failed to activate. Alarms sounded from multiple rooms, patients on ventilators and oxygen concentrators now in danger. Manual resuscitators, now, Lily directed, cutting through the panic. Jessica, call 911. Lily moved through the darkened hallways with certainty. She reached Mr. Alvarez first, a patient on a ventilator. Without hesitation, she disconnected him from the useless machine and began manual breathing assistance. "Someone bring me a battery-operated monitor," she called out. "And find all the oxygen canisters we have." For 20 minutes, Lily orchestrated a response that kept every critical patient stable. She delegated tasks, prioritized vulnerable patients, and improvised with limited resources. When the emergency team arrived, their leader, Dr. Rivera, was visibly impressed by the organized scene. "Who's in charge here?" he asked. "Lily Foster," Jessica answered. "She's our night shift caregiver." Dr. Rivera's eyebrows rose. "A caregiver coordinated all this?" "The best one you'll ever meet," Jessica added firmly. 2 days later, Lily received a call from Melissa Chan, the patient safety officer at County Hospital. "Dr. Rivera was impressed with your emergency management," Melissa explained. "We're developing a new safety protocol, and we'd like you to help design it." Lily felt a surge of validation. "I'm just a caregiver," she said, the phrase Walter had wielded as an insult now spoken with pride. "Exactly. Caregivers have perspectives that doctors and administrators often miss. Would you share yours?" As she hung up, Lily felt something shift inside her. This small recognition, this acknowledgement of her value beyond Walter's dismissive labels, kindled hope. That night, as she rocked Abigail to sleep, Lily whispered, "Sometimes the battles we think we're losing are actually leading us somewhere new." Abigail's tiny hand wrapped around her finger, the same hands Walter had mocked now recognized for saving lives, the same hands that would continue fighting for her daughter's future. Changes rarely announce themselves with fanfare. They begin as whispers and small gestures that accumulate until they become undeniable. Following the power outage, Lily noticed subtle shifts at the facility and county hospital. Cleaning staff nodded respectfully. Nurses began asking her opinion. Even some doctors started acknowledging her with genuine politeness. "Mr. Rodriguez is agitated today," a nurse practitioner confided. "I've tried everything, but nothing's working. You always seem to know what to do with him." "He keeps a photo of his wife under his pillow," Lily replied. "Show it to him and ask about Maria. It helps ground him." The practitioner returned later, amazed. "It worked perfectly." "How did you know?" "Because I listen," Lily said simply. Sometimes the most important things aren't in the charts. In break rooms and hallways, comments about Lily spread. "When Foster is on shift, the whole floor runs smoother. Have you noticed how she can calm patients when no one else can? The way she talks to them, like she really hears them. I trust her judgment more than some of the doctors." These weren't loud declarations but quiet affirmations that spread among people who witnessed true compassion daily. One morning, Jessica called, excitement in her voice. "Did you see the hospital survey results? Your name came up multiple times. People are saying they need more input from caregivers like you." "That's unexpected," Lily replied, stunned. Someone wrote, "We need to hear from caregivers like Lily Foster at the Ethics Forum." And the PR department saw it. Soon after, an official email arrived inviting Lily to speak at the annual Healthcare Ethics Forum on Dignity in Care, Perspectives from All Levels. Lily stared at the screen, conflicted. This was an opportunity to advocate for caregivers, to challenge Walter's dismissive attitudes. Yet speaking before medical professionals, including Walter himself, made her stomach churn. She glanced at Abigail playing in her playpen. With Walter using every resource to paint her as inadequate, perhaps this was a chance to change the narrative. Her finger hovered over accept before she finally pressed it. Some battles needed to be fought in public. 3 days before the forum, Lily opened her door to find Ethan and Vivian. Ethan looked different, his posture straighter, his eyes clearer. Once inside, Vivian pulled out a USB drive. "I've been documenting Walter's behavior for years. The manipulation, the emotional abuse, how he uses his position to control people. Ethan touched his mother's hand. Mom showed me everything. Recordings of him threatening colleagues. Emails where he pressured staff to misrepresent your work situation. Even his instructions before your home evaluation. You've kept records of all this? Lily asked, stunned. At first, to convince myself I wasn't imagining things. Then as insurance, in case he tried to take Ethan away, like he's trying with Abigail. I've been a coward, Ethan said, meeting Lily's eyes. I let my father control me. But seeing this evidence, I can't be complicit anymore. He knelt beside Abigail's playpen. I'm withdrawing from the custody petition. I've told my lawyer. Abigail belongs with you. Tears welled in Lily's eyes. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he continued. But I am asking for a chance to be a father to Abigail, on your terms. And to support you at the forum. Mom and I both want to be there. The next day, Brian Campbell, owner of Medicare Technologies, visited Lily. I understand you have a vision for home-based care systems, he said at Margaret's kitchen table. It's just an idea, Lily replied cautiously. To help elderly people maintain dignity in familiar surroundings. Brian's eyes softened. 3 years ago, my mother had advanced dementia. The doctors recommended institutionalization, but she was terrified of leaving home. He described how a dedicated caregiver had transformed their experience. She didn't just assist my mother, she taught our family how to preserve Mom's dignity until the end. That changed my perspective entirely. Brian leaned forward. When I heard about your ideas, I knew I had to meet you. I'm just a caregiver fighting a custody battle. My ideas are just dreams right now. Sometimes dreams are exactly what broken systems need. I'd like to help make yours a reality. For the first time in months, Lily allowed herself to imagine a future beyond just surviving Walter's attacks, a future where her experience could help others. The day of the forum arrived with nervous energy that left Lily nauseated. In the speaker's room, she gripped the sink edge, trying to steady her breathing. Her hand found her mother's old nurse's watch in her pocket. She remembered Margaret's words, "Your hands hold someone's life in its final moments." That's something to be proud of. When her name was called, Lily walked onto the stage with those words echoing in her mind. The auditorium was filled with healthcare professionals. In the front row sat Margaret, Jessica, Ethan, and Vivian. Walter sat among the ethics committee members in a carefully neutral expression. For a moment, Lily's mind went blank with fear. Then she looked down at her hands, the hands Walter had mocked, the hands that had saved lives, the hands that cradled Abigail each night. I wasn't sure what to say today, she began, voice quiet but steady. I'm not a doctor or administrator. I'm a caregiver, someone whose role is often reduced to just changing bedpans or just cleaning up messes. The room grew silent. But I'm not just a waste cleaner, Lily continued, her voice growing stronger. These hands have held people as they took their final breaths. They've communicated comfort when words failed. They've preserved dignity when nothing else remained. She spoke about how those closest to patients were often the least heard in policy discussions. We see what doctors don't have time to see. We hear what patients only whisper when they feel safe. We know when someone needs medicine, yes, but we also know when they simply need to be treated like a human being with value. As Lily described specific experiences, maintaining a dying woman's hairstyle because it mattered to her, learning cultural practices to help patients feel respected, recognizing subtle changes before they appeared on tests, the audience shifted. Heads nodded. Eyes grew damp. Even Walter's expression slipped, revealing discomfort as she challenged his worldview without mentioning him. True healthcare isn't hierarchical, Lily concluded. It's collaborative. And in that collaboration, every voice matters, especially those closest to the patients themselves. My hands may not perform surgery or prescribe medication, but they do preserve human dignity. And there is nothing more valuable in healthcare than that. The silence lasted only moments before applause began, tentative at first, then growing stronger. As Lily left the stage, she saw what she valued most: genuine respect in the eyes of her colleagues. The ethics forum had concluded, but its impact continued to spread. Lily's speech about caregivers' perspectives and patient dignity had resonated far beyond the auditorium walls. Medical blogs featured discussions about integrating caregivers' input into patient care. Nursing journals published editorials about the dignity approach, referencing Lily's points. Even local news covered the story of a simple caregiver whose eloquence had challenged healthcare hierarchies. Amid this attention, an anonymous post appeared on a healthcare workers forum, a recording of Walter Bennett at a private hospital board meeting. These people, janitors, orderlies, caregivers, they're essential but replaceable parts, Walter's voice stated. Let's not confuse their function with the expertise of trained medical professionals. The contrast between Walter's dismissive attitude and Lily's advocacy was stark. Commentary erupted. Can someone who views caregivers as irreplaceable parts truly understand patient dignity? At County Hospital, whispers spread through every department. The upcoming selection for Chief of Medical Ethics suddenly seemed to favor Dr. Helen Rodriguez, known for her collaborative approach. The family court was smaller than Lily had imagined, more sterile than a place deciding a child's future should be. Walter sat rigidly beside his attorney. Lily sat with her modest legal aid attorney, her mother's worn nurse's watch in her lap for courage. Ethan was called to testify first. As he approached the stand, his gaze met Lily's briefly, showing a quiet resolve she had never seen in him before. After being sworn in, Ethan spoke clearly. I wish to withdraw my custody petition and fully support my wife's custody of our daughter Abigail. The judge looked up sharply. Mr. Bennett, do you understand what you're saying? This contradicts your previous statements. I do, Your Honor. I was wrong, Ethan replied. Lily Foster is an exceptional mother. Her work as a caregiver is not a detriment but an asset to our daughter's upbringing. Walter's composure cracked. Ethan, he hissed, loud enough for others to hear. What are you doing? Ethan turned to face his father directly. Something I should have done long ago, thinking for myself. The hearing concluded with temporary full custody granted to Lily, with generous visitation for Ethan. As they exited, Walter stormed past without acknowledging either of them. He'll never forgive me, Ethan said quietly. Lily adjusted Abigail in her arms. Maybe someday he will. But today, you forgave yourself. That matters more. 3 days later, a notice appeared on County Hospital's bulletin board. Dr. Walter Bennett has stepped down as board trustee, effective immediately, citing health concerns. Staff members passed by without reaction, no surprise, no celebration, no mourning. The absence of response spoke volumes about Walter's true legacy. Only Maria Gonzalez, a longtime cleaning staff member, paused as she replaced a nearby bulletin. The air feels cleaner already, she murmured, before continuing with her work. Later, Vivian called Lily. Walter's moved to our lake house. He says it's temporary, but I think he knows his time here is over. Are you okay? Lily asked with genuine concern. I'm finding my voice again, Vivian replied. It's been quiet for so long, I'd almost forgotten what it sounds like. Spring arrived, bringing warm breezes and new beginnings. In a small park, Lily and Ethan watched Abigail taking her first wobbly steps on the grass. I've started therapy, Ethan said. Learning how to recognize manipulation, how to stand up for myself. Lily nodded, watching their daughter laugh as she stumbled and got back up. That's good. I know we can't go back to how things were, he continued carefully. But I'd like us to find a way forward, whatever shape that takes. I'd like that too, Lily said. For Abigail. And maybe, someday, for us. They weren't ready for reconciliation, but they had found something perhaps more valuable: respect. 6 months after the ethics forum, Lily stood before a small storefront. The freshly painted sign read, "Hands of Dignity Home Care Support Center." Brian Campbell had provided the initial funding, with a model that prioritized both caregiver training and fair compensation. Jessica had joined as co-director. Margaret arrived carrying Abigail, who now toddled confidently. "It's perfect," she said, surveying the simple but welcoming space. "Not exactly a medical empire," Lily said with a smile. "Better," Margaret replied. "It's a place built on respect." As they prepared for their modest opening, an elderly woman stopped outside, peering at the sign. After hesitating, she opened the door. "Excuse me," she said tentatively. "Are you the caregivers? My husband just came home from the hospital, and I don't know how to care for him properly." Lily approached with a warm smile. "Yes, we are. Please come in. Let's talk about how we can help over a cup of tea, if you'd like." The woman's relief was visible as she entered. "Thank you. I've been so worried." The Hands of Dignity Center had grown, now serving dozens of families with home care support, training, and advocacy. Lily's approach had garnered attention from healthcare administrators seeking to improve patient outcomes. As Lily finished paperwork one evening, she glanced at the framed poster on the wall, created by a grateful family. "Everyone needs someone's hands at some point in life. May those hands be filled with pride." She looked down at her own hands, the hands that had been mocked, that had saved lives, that had held Abigail through countless nights, that had built this sanctuary of dignity. Around her wrist, her mother's nurse watch kept time, a legacy of care passed down. The door chimed as Ethan entered. Their relationship had evolved into something new, not the naive romance of before, but a deeper partnership built on hard-earned wisdom. He now volunteered at the center, teaching families how to advocate within the medical system. Outside, Margaret waited with Abigail, now a chattering toddler full of questions. As they walked together, Lily's hands, once deemed only good enough for waste cleaning, now reached out to guide her daughter's steps, to build a new kind of healthcare, and to hold the future she had fought so hard to create. These hands had become what they were always meant to be: instruments of dignity, vessels of compassion, and above all, sources of pride.